scenes?
We actually didn't rehearse. We talked about it a lot. Each scene had a very specific structure, a specific set of actions. There was a lot of walking through it with camera operator because that's essentially a character. The eyes of the camera become, like the dream person who can get in close. Because there's no cutaways, there's no close-up of the hand, and then close-up of the face, and then let's cut to the guy at the bar. So the camera had to become this character who could create an intimate close shot, and then could get distant and observational, and all of that had to be planned in advance. But I didn't want to rehearse, per se, because I felt that there was a risk people would lose their vitality or their, the improvs could become stale.
How did they make the music come across so well and sound so good in this movie that seems so, in other ways, kind of on the fly? Can you tell us a little bit about sort of your vision and your ideas going into the film about what you wanted the music to sound like and how you got it to sound like you wanted it to sound like?
Well, this was meant to be I think Ari sold it to me. I was living in Berlin, and it's like, we gotta go back and do this thing, and it's only gonna take 3 days of your time. It's not that. But I think that it evolved as we were in post, and kind of thought it was gonna be more raw initially, and then, of course, when you're watching something, there's probably a lot of filmmakers here, you kind of go, okay, I want to make that better, I want to make that better, and so we kept the live performances, but there was, in some cases, a lot of just scrubbing stuff to make it, mics going out mid-performance that then had to be boosted. We availed ourselves of some great new technology to be able to strip from the vocal mic to get the guitar fed, and there were lots of things we did to get it sounding better. Also had great mixer Tony Hoffer, who I think lives in Austin, mixing, and Jim Key doing sound design, who just did an incredible job kind of blending from the live stuff to the music. We also made a decision to be kind of cheesy at best. That was the word. It was actually a good word in our language to sort of add non-real elements whenever people were kind of going into a dream space or into their heads, whether the Ari character or the Ethan character, and that gave us license to do other instruments and allow it to kind of, you may have noticed there were organs playing and harpsichords and things that were not on screen. So that was just a decision we made kind of fairly recently, actually, to allow that dream space to take over.
We spent months making our way through what my dad would have called the archaeological layers of his apartment, and it was really like archaeology in the sense that the outer layer would have been from 2010, and then you'd sort of organize and get through that, and then you'd be at 1995, and then you'd be at 1975, and then eventually finding pictures of him in that apartment when it was empty. And he was, in 1961, kind of studly, leaning against the wall. And there's actually in these documents that you all have, there's a picture of him from the early 60s in that nearly empty apartment. We really wanted to preserve the memories, and so we got a lot of it into a library, and then a lot of it we distributed to his friends.
What did you shoot it on? What was your camera setup? And also, how did you deal with safety with all shooting in the streets?
What was the filming setup, and how did you handle the safety issues of shooting in the street?
Yeah, Sony FX7 or FX6, 6 I think it was. Yeah, gotta be honest, we didn't have permits. We just went to the streets.